The world around us is forever changing. Considering how landscapes have changed throughout time, it shouldn't come as a huge surprise that some places will be completely gone. Many fragile ecosystems can be vulnerable to natural disasters and mankind's impact on Mother Earth. Whether it's a huge metropolitan city with millions of people or famous landmarks we can't imagine being without, here are places that might disappear soon. Number 11. Glacier Park. This national park, located in the state of Montana, takes up 1,583 square miles and is one of the most scenic national parks in the U.S. However, the glaciers that give this massive national park its name seem to be disappearing. Only 25 out of the 150 glaciers found here still remain. Despite being the location of many natural resources, the U.S. made an agreement to keep the land safe in 1895 in cooperation with Native American tribes. However, they can't do much to stop the temperature from rising. It makes you wonder what exactly will happen if this area floods. The vast pristine wilderness earned its name as the crown of the continent ecosystem, and we're basically just gonna have to sit back and watch all the ice melt away. These two photos show the exact same spot in 1911 when it was completely covered in ice, and in 2009 where it's glacier-free. Number 10. The Maldives. The Maldives have the lowest elevation of any country in the world, and many people are surprised that it's even possible for a nation to exist here. Scientists are predicting that someday, these beautiful tropical islands in the Indian Ocean will slowly sink and be completely submerged underwater. One massive storm could essentially bring this place down. The elevation for more than 80% of the islands are no more than 3 feet. They've been struggling to keep their heads above water, literally, and the capital city of Male requires a 10-foot wall to block out the ever-increasing water levels. Even tidal surges have been known to cause farmers serious problems here, and the outlook on the future of this nation is becoming more and more grim. The disappearance of the Maldives wouldn't just affect them. All the trash from Thilafushi Island would just wash away into the Indian Ocean. In 2005, it's estimated that 31,000 of truckloads of garbage were transported to this island each year, and it continues to grow each year at a rate of 365,000 square feet. Number 9. San Francisco. The picturesque city of San Francisco is really a ticking time bomb that could go off at any minute. Not only is it a coastal city, which makes it susceptible to flooding, hurricanes, and whatnot, but it sits along a major fault line known as the San Andreas Fault. According to the University of California, there's a 75% chance that an earthquake of 7 or greater magnitude will occur by 2086. Earthquakes can be a little bit difficult to predict, and we've seen before the capability of destruction an earthquake had on the city. In 1906, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake shook the earth, which set the city ablaze for several days. It was complete chaos. Many were left homeless and fled the city. Don't forget about all the crazy fires happening there recently. Eventually, it was repaired, but the cost could be much greater if it happened in modern times. And hopefully the Googleplex in Mountain View, California will still be there. Number 8. Naples. We're all familiar with Mount Vesuvius as being the volcano that destroyed the city of Pompeii in 79 AD, but in modern times, the volcano is certainly capable of causing more destruction. With about 3 million people in Italy living near the volcano and 300,000 of them living in the red zone, it's certainly the most dangerous volcano in all of Europe. It's only about 7.5 miles away from the city of downtown Naples. Take a close look at it on Google Maps, and you'll notice it's basically surrounded by people and houses. Scientists also claim that this active volcano is much overdue for an explosion. About 2 millennia ago, we saw it plaster people into human statues. Who's to say this won't happen again, and what kind of devastation would that eruption have caused if it were to happen now? Number 7. The ancient city of Petra. This historical city in Jordan is well known for its buildings cut from rock. However, due to its location in the desert and vandalism, many are wondering how long it'll be around for. It also goes by the name of Rose City due to the color of the stone that it's built from. Around 312 BC, it was the capital of the Nabateans, and where nomadic traders would settle down in the middle of the desert. No one even knew about this place until it was discovered in 1812, and to this day, there's still things we don't know about this place. The photo we see here is the well-known El Dair, translating to the monastery. The views of the desert from this city can be quite remarkable. Visit this one while you still can. Water erosion and heavy amounts of tourism are causing irreparable damage to these ancient monuments. Not only that, but it's completely surrounded by chaos in the Middle East. Number 6. The Everglades. The Everglades are slowly beginning to vanish due to the pollution of Lake Okeechobee, so you might have to visit this one while you still can. This is the only UNESCO World Heritage Site in the US that made it to the endangered list, along with 53 other locations from other nations. The Everglades in Florida take up a massive 2,357 square miles in central Florida, but that number could be a lot lower very soon. The swampy terrain and its animals are under threat from pollution caused by the phosphorus that was used extensively in agriculture in Florida. Most people come here to get an up-close look at the alligators that call this place home. However, a lot of people probably would be surprised if they came across the panthers that live here as well. Lake Okeechobee is not in its best condition, and if pollution continues to affect this fragile swampy ecosystem, there might not be any gators left to visit. Number 5. The coral reefs. Beautiful coral reefs may unfortunately become a thing of the past, especially the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Since coral appears to have a limited ability to adapt with CO2 levels this high and an increase in ocean temperature, their destruction seems inevitable. It appears that the only way they will survive is if citizens and lawmakers come together in order to preserve them, which usually doesn't happen. The stress brought upon the coral from the warmer temperatures has led to what's known as coral bleaching, causing them to turn more white. This then makes them weaker and unable to fight off disease. Many species of fish depend on these reefs as a source of food and places to hide from enemies, making it a place where vast, diverse ecosystems call home. The northern part of Australia's Great Barrier Reef is already severely bleached, and at least 60% of it has been affected. Number 4. The city of Timbuktu. Located on the southern edge of the Sahara in the country of Mali is where you'll find the historical city of Timbuktu, which is basically turned into dust. It's used in expressions describing a really far away place, but it does actually exist and is under threat of disappearing due to drought. Between the 12th and 14th century, this city thrived and was extremely wealthy from trading salt and ivory. It became possibly the most important medieval city in this continent. These commodities were traded by large caravans of camels, and it brought an enormous amount of wealth to the Malayan Empire. The historical importance is undeniable, but the fertile land that allowed for it to thrive is turning into a dry desert, which makes it nearly impossible to grow food. Farmers are slaughtering their camels for food since they no longer have grass to feed the cattle. The difficult task of living on land, which is going through the process of desertification, could prove to be too much, and Timbuktu could turn into a ghost town with no one to repair it. Number 3. Venice. Venice is a remarkable city in northeastern Italy where the visitors can see what life is like during the Renaissance. Many remarkable monuments have been constructed here, and this city showcases some of the most unique feats of architecture and artwork. However, it doesn't appear as though this city was meant to last forever, because it's also sinking. Situated in the Adriatic Sea, it consists of hundreds of tiny little islands. You won't find any roads here, just canals, and those canals do flood occasionally, mostly from high tides. The tidal floods already seem to be causing more and more destruction to the city. The soil in which the city was built on isn't very firm, and it seems to be a question of when, rather than if, it's going to happen. Italian officials are doing all they can, but it just appears to be a lost cause. Number 2. The Dead Sea. The Dead Sea makes up part of the border between Israel and Jordan and has quite a few unique properties to it. Could one of the world's saltiest lakes start drying up? The Dead Sea has the lowest elevation on Earth, and even though nothing can survive living in this lake, it's still quite a unique place that many people enjoy visiting. It's looking like this sea might be dead, and it's losing 2 billion gallons of water each year. A large-scale mining operation appears to be the source of the problem, as well as water diversions from the Jordan River. As a result of its diminishing size, large sinkholes seem to be forming along the coast, which has made tourism an issue. There is a plan in effect to try to save the lake, which requires building a series of pipelines and canals to transport water. This would require cooperation between Israel and its neighboring countries, which we all know doesn't go too well. And number 1, New York City. The great city of Atlantis was rumored to once exist and is now completely under the water, somewhere out there. Great Egyptian cities have been discovered underwater after being victims of landslides and floods. So there's no reason to doubt Mother Nature's ability to completely submerge large metropolitan areas. Similar to Venice in a sense, the majority of the city is on an island. 1.64 million people live in Manhattan, and it's the most densely populated borough in New York. It's also the most vulnerable to a major flood. Ignorance is bliss, and most people in New York don't want to think about it. But with the rising oceans and the crazy storms we've seen lately, it's just a matter of time before New York gets hit with a big one. Subways would flood, taxis would be trapped in water, tunnels could collapse, and complete doom is among us. Experts claim that just a 5-foot rise in sea level would submerge LaGuardia Airport, many of the barrier islands, as well as large portions of Manhattan. So watch out.